Hi everyone, welcome to Colouring with Kay. Thank you for joining me today. So in this video I am doing a sort of a colour along. I will include all the materials I've used in the description below. And I am using oil pastels in my Daydreams colouring book, and this was something that was inspired by Colouring with Maya. I've had oil pastels for a long time and I've used them in art journaling, but I've always stayed away from using them in colouring books because they are quite sticky and I wasn't quite sure, how easily they'd be to use in a colouring book with all the little spaces. But these were sent to me by Paul Rubens. So these are the Paul Rubens 48 oil pastel colours that they sent in their New Year gift pack. So I thought I would use them out. So I've chose a few colours here: 001, 021, 022, 018, 236 and 027. And I am just popping in the colour into the gaps there, as you can see. Now I didn't use my finger to blend them. I used paper stumps and tortillons, which just sort of didn't, make my fingers dirty really, and it worked fairly well. So that was good. You do need, different sized paper stumps and tortillons for the smaller areas, and different ones for the bigger areas. You can use your fingertip for the bigger areas, but this page did have a fair number of intricate bits. Now it's really nice and easy to blend the oil pastels. The one thing that Maya used with hers to fix the oil pastel was the satin glazing liquid, and I did try that out. If you see my January colouring update, which is another idea from Maya, thank you so much, Maya, you're such an inspiration. I shared how I tested out using another medium, which was the Pebeo gloss acrylic medium, and I used Mod Podge, the Extreme Glitter version, and I preferred the Mod Podge Glitter Extreme, and I preferred the Pebeo gel medium, the gloss gel medium. I've got the matte version as well, but I decided to use the gloss, and I just felt it worked better for me. So I, compared to satin glazing liquid. So then I used that later on in the video, as you see, to fix the oil pastel. However, what I would say in retrospect of trying this out is I would fix the oil pastel as soon as you finish blending it, because things do stick to it because it's quite sticky, and things just adhere to it like dust, bits of pencil dust and all sorts. So rather than leave it, because I thought that I'll do some pencil colouring and my other bits and bobs that I want to colour the rest of the image, and I just thought I'll do it later. And I did notice that things did stick to the oil pastel, but I definitely use oil pastels again, that is for sure, in the future in my colouring books, especially for pages where it's not as intricate, sorry if I can say the word, because it's easier to, lay it down, I guess, and blend. But even on a page like this, which is quite intricate, I did manage quite well, I have to say. So it's definitely something that I will use again. And the gel medium, the Pebeo gel medium, is really quite easy to apply with a brush over the oil pastel. So yeah, so that's all I'm doing here really, blending the oil pastels together. The colours blend really nicely together. I used a handful of colours. I wanted a sort of a brightish, warmish background of peach, cream, yellow, orange. Those sort of colours in the background, because I knew I wanted the flowers to be a very contrasting colour to that, and that contrasting colour for the flowers that I wanted to use was a blue. I wanted quite a nice vivid blue. So yeah, I keep the paper on top there with, while I was working, just so that my sleeve doesn't stick to the oil pastel, because like I said, it is quite sticky. But yeah, I did use white as well for those areas near the bee. So now, although I used the tip of my paper stump to take off some pastel, actually directly off the pastel, rather than apply it to the paper for the really intricate bits, I thought I would still use some pencils. So I used some Holbein pencils to neaten up. Maya did use Prismas. I prefer these Holbeins with these oil pastels. Reason for that being, I think the consistency of the core in the Holbein pencil, I think they do use some sort of animal fat in it, and it's quite similar in a way, in feel anyway. It feels quite similar to the oil pastel, so, and it did work quite well actually, so it blended. But obviously if you don't have Holbeins, you can use quite a waxy pencil as well, and it'll work just as well. So yeah, I just used a few colours of the Holbein pencils to neaten up. I used cream, pink, sunflower, Bordeaux red, and then there's me just blending certain parts in a little bit better. And then yeah, that was my background complete. And what I should have done is I should have actually then just applied my Pebeo gel medium over the oil pastel at that point, rather than leave it. I mean, I did fall ill this in between doing after I'd done this bit. I did fall ill. I don't know what it was, but yeah, I was so ill I couldn't even manage going into work for a couple of days. So yeah, I felt ill, and then I left that obviously because I couldn't really do much at all when I was ill. I was just in bed. And then once I got better, I finished off the other clips. Now I decided to add, really I would have added the Pebeo gel medium after this step, which is where I'm adding some Nouveau Ice White Circles confetti, and using my Cricut gel pen and the pickup tool to pick up the confetti and stick it onto the page. So you can see that I've forgotten, because I did do this a while back, so I forgot all the bits and pieces that I added to this page. But I wanted it to be quite a shiny background as well, so I think the shiny confetti added to that. So now I'm going to work on the flowers. So I decided to use my Neocolor ones. Now, why did I choose Neocolor ones and not Neocolor 2s? I just thought that because I've got oil pastel in the background, and oil and water don't mix very well, and I know I wasn't going to obviously colour over the oil, but it was next to it, so I thought, just to reduce any dodgy areas or dodgy effects from occurring, I decided to go with Neocolor ones, because I thought I could use the Derwent blender pen, which I don't think it's water based. I think it is some sort of oil based sort of thing. So I decided to blend the Neocolor ones with some Derwent blender pen. I mean, you could also use Zest It if you don't have the Derwent blender pen. But yeah, I'm using several colours here. For the flowers, I've got Prussian blue, dark ultramarine, light blue and periwinkle blue. This is the Neocolor 140 set, I think. I think it's the biggest set, if I'm not mistaken. The flower leaves, I'm using emerald green, grass green and yellow green. Like I said, I will put all of this in the description below. I hope this video does get some views, some decent views, because honestly, it takes me absolutely ages to make these videos, these sort of videos. It just recording all the clips and then writing everything down, typing everything up for the description, doing the voiceover, everything just adds up and takes a long time. But it is a bit disappointing, I have to say. I mean, I try not to be now. I just know that some of you will find it useful, which should be good enough, and it is to some extent, but I can't help feeling disappointed. So yeah, but anyway, thank you to those who are watching. I appreciate it. So yeah, I like the little bit of lilac in the blue there. The colour comes out nicely, but obviously I have to do some shading on top because that is just not intense. There's me wiping off the Derwent blender pen so that I can get the previous colour off before I go into a new colour. Otherwise, some of the colour will transfer, which is not what I want. But the blender pen does blend quite well, as you can see, and when it runs out, I will fill it up with some Zest It fluid because that works just as well, because these blender pens are quite expensive because they don't actually last as long as I'd hope, and I only really like the wider tip version rather than the thin one. So now I am adding some shading, and I decided to use my luminance pencils. So I used ultramarine violet, Prussian blue, dark indigo for the flowers. For the leaves, which I'm doing now, I used spring green, which is the lightest colour for the lightest areas, grass green, and then let's see, the spring green is the luminance, and then the grass green 70% is the light fast pencil, and then back to luminance dark sap green. I will, like I say, put all of this in the description if you are interested. Now, I didn't mention earlier, but I did do this page previously in my original copy of Daydreams, the actual English version, because I think this is a Dutch version that I've got, which has thicker paper, even thicker paper than the English version has paper that is quite good as well, but this one's even thicker. And yeah, I think this is the second page I've done in here, because this is one of my favourite books of Hannah Karlzon, as many of you would say it's probably one of your favourites of Hannah's as well. It's a really cool book. So yeah, now you can see I'm using the flower shading, using my Lumis, ultramarine violet, Prussian blue and dark indigo. So yeah, and then now I'm using the absolute amazing dark indigo for the darkest parts of the flower. If you want really dark colours, because they're quite hard to come by in many pencil sets, to be honest, apart from the expensive ones, I would definitely get some singles for luminance and Derwent Lightfast. I could share that in a Feb or March colouring update where I share. I guess someone did ask me to do colour combinations, so I could mention it in that little segment, because I find these updates are quite useful. Okay, so in this section I'm still adding a little bit more shading. I just had to stop my voiceover because I was having a little bit of a coughing fit. So I am back, and I'm adding some, like, I don't know, how would you describe it? Some lines, you know, where you try to add a little bit of texture, because to show like the veins in the petals. I just thought that will look a little bit more, I don't know, realistic maybe. So yeah, that's me, how I've shown one flower done, and I'm working on the stem. So the stem colours in the Neocolour ones, I'm using Sepia 407, Burnt Sienna 069. So yeah, I just used that, and then I used the Derwent blender pen again to just go over that. And I think, do I add more, do I add shading to that? Oh sorry, that right, okay, sorry. The stem for the Neocolour one was brown, burnt sienna, russet and ochre. So that's what I used. Those were the crayons. Then I used my Derwent blender pen to blend the Neocolour ones, and then I used the luminance pencil over the top, which was the Sepia 407 and the burnt sienna 069. So I do apologise for that little mix-up. As my notes are a little bit messy, so I was looking in the wrong place. But my intention was to do all of this over a few days, but like I said, I felt ill, so then I had a big gap in between, and then you just forget stuff. Well, I do anyway. So yeah, that's the stem, and now I'm adding a bit of shading. So yeah, what else can I talk about? I think yeah, how are you guys doing actually? Yeah, I mean, it is more than halfway through the video, but I was just so into explaining what's going on with the picture. So yeah, how are you guys doing, and what are you colouring at the moment? What page are you working on? Always interested to hear. I've got a lot of comments to reply back to, so I do apologise that I'm a little bit behind. It's not going to help that I'm quite busy at work for the next few weeks. So yeah, and yeah, I mean, this month I haven't completed in January many colouring pages. Again, I chose a lot of pages, but I always do, I think, because I fell ill and also was quite busy at work as well. So I just didn't get the chance to sit down and do much. So now I'm just going to go back to the flowers of what I'm doing. So these small flowers, I want you to use similar colours to the two large flowers. So I used what did I use? I used Light Fast, the same luminance colours actually that I used on the big flowers. So I used ultramarine violet, Prussian blue and dark indigo. And then I also used the for the grass leaves, I used the same colours as the leaves on the big flowers. So that was the grass green, 70% light fast, the spring green 470 luminance, and the dark sap green luminance. So yeah, I have found that when you're colouring, if you have about, I mean, many people say this as well, when you have 3 or 4 colours that the picture is dominated by, so 3 or 4 colours, then and then you can have pops of colour, a few, you know, other colours, but to a much lower or lesser degree, then your picture is much more cohesive and works together quite well. And that is true, it looks more sophisticated as well. And for some pictures, I will, you know, I'm happy, like this one. I've tried to do that to some extent. I mean, I always like to have some sort of contrast as well between the background and the picture itself. But I am going to experiment, I think, in future with doing a very, very limited palette. So this is not a very limited palette. I wouldn't call it a very limited palette, just because the background has got quite a lot of colours going on in it, and then the foreground has got opposing colours. But I would like to try out to see what a limited palette, you know, like where you just say using only, I mean, I probably have done it in the past. Probably use something like blue, purple and green, and that's it. Yeah, and that's for everything. But that excludes, I mean, no, sorry, that doesn't exclude. So you can use greys, because I would need greys, I think, to sort of add a little bit of, I don't know, some sort of, you know, contrast, I suppose. So now I'm working on the bees. I did go off camera and I worked on some bees and the actual flower leaves, and then I thought I'd do some on camera. So the bees are basically Derwent Light, Fast Sun Yellow, Gold and Dark Honey. I used the Sakura Glaze Black for some of the bees as well, and then for the wings I used some Renaissance Countdown, Colour Shift Countdown to Christmas as well. Now here I am using the Pebeo Gel Medium Gloss with my brush to apply over the oil pastel. So I did most of that off camera, and you can see it is a little bit shiny in the background. I just went over the confetti and it was fine. And now I'm adding my finishing touches, which we're nearly at the end now, guys. I bet you're thinking finally. But yeah, this whole procedure did take quite a procedure, like it's a medical procedure. This whole procedure, this whole picture took quite a while. So what I'm using now is the Sparks Aquarelle Yellow and Orange Glitter Watercolours. You can find her on Etsy. She's got some lovely glittery paints. So I used orange and yellow for the stamens, I think they are. And then I also used some Renaissance Colour Shift Countdown to Christmas Colour Shift paints. I used the Wonder, actual name of the watercolour, the purple, for that. I used glaze pens. These are not glaze pens that you can see at the moment. That's the Pentel Dual Metallic Hybrids. And I used the gold and the pink on metallic pink, and that's how I coloured those. Those are the glaze pens which I used for the tops of these flowers. So the orange and yellow, I thought shiny glaze would look quite nice on that. And that's what I'm showing you now, which is the Wonder paint from the Renaissance Colour Shift Countdown to Christmas. A beautiful paint. And then some white Posca for finishing touches. So I decided to add that to the little dots that were in the flowers, and basically added some highlights here and there, and really that's it. That was my page. I managed to fit all that in like about 26 minutes, something like that. So I'm quite happy with how that's come out. I don't think it's the best, it's not my best work, but it's not bad, and you know, it's got lots of different things in it, like oil lots of different mediums experimented on it, like oil pastels and watercolour paints and Neocolor ones and gel pens and everything else that I've forgotten to mention, confetti and all sorts. So yeah, I hope you still found it useful and you found my ramblings a little bit useful at least. But yeah, this is me just adding some more dots here and there, finishing touches. I also put white Posca around the bees' wings because I thought that would look nice. And then some highlights on the leaves, the petals, and then yeah, that's really it. So yeah, this was one of the pages that you've already seen now, that's done. So yeah, guys, hope you enjoyed this little colour along. All the information with what I used will be listed below. If you have any questions, put it in the comments below. and hopefully I'll get back to you. Might not be straight away though, because I've got quite a backlog to catch up on, unfortunately. But anyway, I will get to it at some point soon, hopefully. And that's it, guys. Take care. Happy colouring. Bye. Take care.